Friday night at Billy Bob's in Fort Worth, the self-proclaimed world's largest honky-tonk. Nightclub.com says the expected lifespan for club is about 2 years. This year's Billy Bob's 35th.
Looking for love in all the wrong places.
The idea for Billy Bob's, in part, was inspired in June of 1980 with the release of Urban Cowboy. The movie and soundtrack triggered a country music surge. Developer and businessman Billy Bob Barnett saw an opportunity and opened the club the next spring.
No, I am not Billy Bob.
Billy Minnick was there.
Billy Bob Barnett was a borderline genius. I mean, he is very creative, had the idea, had some limited bar experience, but successful.
The whole Urban Cowboy phase, I think, kind of inspired Billy Bob, but he wanted to do it bigger and better, and that's why they had real bull riding, because at Urban Cowboy at Gilley's, they had the mechanical bull, and it was, such a hit with people because it was so much different. Nobody ever heard of bull riding inside a club, but yeah, Urban Cowboy did, I'm sure, inspire it.
35 years later, I got ownership team members Pam and Billy Minnick to talk about how the club took off and why. It had a lot to do with young Texas talent that was taking off too.
Favorite memories of some of the first year acts that maybe you didn't know were going to be who they ended up being?
George Strait.
How'd that go?
Well, apparently it went well.
Amarillo by morning, up from San Antonio.
He come here in a Chevrolet Dually pickup and a U-Haul trailer. He was a school teacher, playing on the weekends, and it got some momentum. And I always tell a story, and we happen to be friends and do a few things occasionally with George. And how many, 52 number one hits? He has not changed one bit. Same guy, very humble, appreciative.
Things were going so well, the ideas got bigger. Billy Bob Barnett made plans for a Western Disneyland in the Stockyards, but it was over budget and underfinanced, and $2 million in lawsuits for unpaid bills brought everything down. Billy Bob's closed in January 1988. The club was closed for more than a year, and that's when the Minnicks and other investors decided to get back in.
Did I read something that, Pam, you didn't get paid for a year and a half or something like that?
2 years, yeah, yeah. I was working at the time for ESPN as a sportscaster. And when Billy came in, I mean, he was going through, the club had been reopened for about 2 months, and they still couldn't get the momentum. And that's when Mr. Hickman called Billy and said, I heard that you're the guy that can turn this thing around. So Billy picks me up at the airport, and he said, honey, I fired the advertising agency. You know about television. You can do that. So it didn't.
And I haven't got any money.
Yeah, and he goes, and by the way, I don't have any money to pay you.
The Minnicks say they were able to make a comeback because of the people of Fort Worth, the strength of country music, the Western lifestyle.
Our lives are better left to chance.
And Garth Brooks.
August 4th, 1989, Garth Brooks. Reserve seats were $7.50 and general admission was $5. 500 people came to the show, and he stood on stage after the show and he goes, I'll sign autographs for anybody that wants one.
Pam and Billy knew how to sell it, like the time they weren't allowed to advertise another Garth Brooks concert in the fall of 1990 until after Brooks took the stage at the State Fair of Texas.
But they said, the minute he walks on stage, you can start advertising. Well, I go rent me an airplane with a tail dragger. There we go. And he walked on stage, and I flew that son of a buck all over there, and it had a tail banner that said Garth Brooks on sale at Billy Bob's
Monday morning
at 10 a.m. He stopped the song, and he said, I guess you know where I'll be playing next. I pulled up here Monday morning when the box office opened. We didn't have computerized tickets. There must have been 3,000 people in line at 10 o'clock.
Sold out in 17 minutes, yeah.
Genius idea, and it sure was nice he noticed, and that was
Exactly.
the moment right there.
Yeah,
He read
yeah,
that boom.
Suddenly, Billy Bob's was the place you played on the way to becoming a superstar.
Alan Jackson, February 3rd, 1990. Garth Brooks, August 4th, 1989.
The halls and the handprints seemed to prove that.
Artists, one right after another, come after him.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Alan Jackson, you had Brooks and Dunn,
Clint Black,
yeah, and they all come right across that stage.
Here's a little song that I got the idea from playing in this great state of Texas. It's about a little girl named Dallas.
Alan Jackson even wrote one of his biggest hits out back in his bus between shows at Billy Bob's.
Oh, how I wish Dallas was in Tennessee.
He got such an ovation here because in the 90s, people just loved their country and they didn't even know who Alan Jackson was. He went out in the bus and he said, God, I wish Fort Worth was in Tennessee. Well, they started riffing on that, and the song Dallas that says, I wish Dallas was in Tennessee, they rode on a bus backstage at Billy Bob's, and he still says that to this day.
But I'm sure you've noticed these classic artists from the early days of Billy Bob's success are all cowboy hat-wearing country guys. Times and music are changing. These days it's backwards baseball hats, even skinny jeans.
How do you like the way the direction country music is going?
That, not very well. But
and I'm doing my best to calm myself, but whenever that door opens, but then it's not gonna be shaky.
There's a big crowd at Billy Bob's waiting for Fort Worth's Mike Ryan to hit the main stage in just a few minutes.
It's good to see you.
Ryan's part of a country music youth movement.
Are you excited?
Chris Ledoux, Dwight Yoakam, Clint Black, and Hank Williams Jr. have passed the Billy Bob's baton to the new young guys like Sam Hunt, Chase Rice, Kip Moore, and Thomas Rhett.
But now, baby, don't you look at me that way.
They look a little different. No cowboy hats. They wear baseball hats, usually backwards, and sometimes skinny jeans. But it's still about the music and Billy Bob's.
There's mojo in this room. I can't explain it.
Mike Ryan, hat backwards.
When I started playing music, everyone was saying, Billy Bob's is, it's like the benchmark gig. I mean, you get a show at Billy Bob's and you've made it, And to get headlining shows here on the main stage is just a really cool thing, man. Anybody that plays music in Texas knows about Billy Bob's.
Mike Ryan will take the stage this night at 10:30, right after the last bull riding show at 10. Just like it's always been.
Hell yeah, brother! Now we get 2 claps and a red flag! Woo! All right, y'all follow me.
But like country music, Billy Bob's is changing too. The City Council just designated 60 acres in the Stockyards as historic. It'll keep buildings from being knocked down or drastically redone. The designation was in response to a $175 million private plan to redevelop part of the Stockyards. A plan the old guard likes.
to do it in the right way, we don't lose our Western theme, is going to be great. We're going to have multiple places to eat. If this town had more hotel rooms and a better place for conventions, it'd go through the roof.
On this, the youth movement agrees.
There's enough people down here who are passionate and they understand what the Stockyards means.
Chris Spinks, Billy Bob's marketing, cowboy hat. Some things don't change.
For the Stockyards, it's just, there is a lot of history here, and it's kind of like Billy Bob's, and the Stockyards have been down there, since early, late 1800s or so. We've been here for 35 years, and whatever happens down there, I can't control all of that. And I think it'll work out.
He also hopes an even bigger move for the club will all work out. Billy Bob's just went smoke-free.
Over the span of the last 3 years, we've been surveying our customers and asking for feedback on what could we do to make this place better. And the number one answer for 3 years was, smoking is an issue for folks. When you think of a honky-tonk, drinking, dancing, and smoking, or it kind of all go hand in hand. And so it took us about 3 years to kind of really settle and say, all right, this is a decision that we really want. We're going to do this, and we're going to see it through, and it's just the right thing to do.
It's 10:30. Time for Mike Ryan to take the stage.
Mr. Mike Ryan!
just walking out there and, you know, the people going nuts out front, and it's just, it's a really cool experience, man. I hope everybody in their life gets to experience something like that at some point, just because, I mean, if you can feel the way that I felt that night, and I'm sure the same way I'll feel tonight, that's just, that's about as good as it gets, man.
And what about Billy Bob's? Is it as good as it gets? There's a lot of talk about expansion, even opening franchises in other markets. But cowboy hats and the backwards hats agree the music is what matters.
Where do you see Billy Bob's becoming in the future? Maybe even after you're gone, 20, 30 years down the road, is there going to be a Billy Bob's, and what do you see happening at Billy Bob's 30, 40 years from now?
I sure hope so. I think it's not only nationally but worldwide known to some degree, Steve, and it all depends on how the next generation, the one after that, handles it. If they'll pay attention to history and our roots here, I think it can be around a long time.
And I don't think anything ever takes the place of live music.
Yeah, I never will.
Because people remember their life according to songs to some degree. And you remember where you were when you heard that song. And you remember who you were with. And that's why I think, regardless of, you know, Merle's gone and Johnny Cash is gone, but there's, you know, the next generation and hopefully the next generation of singers. And there will always be a little bit of country in everybody, but I think the whole thing comes down to the memories you make tied to live music.
And it's in good hands. I think it'll go forward.
And I have the most intense, horrible dreams that anyone can possibly imagine. I sleep maybe 6 hours a night, and I have the most intense, horrible dreams that anyone can possibly imagine. They're never ending. It's every night. I can't get away from them.
It wasn't always like that. Dallas Sonnier's life began as one that dreams are made of. Raised in this Park City's two-story, the movie buff teen with Hollywood dreams followed the footsteps of Ron Howard to film school in California. It wasn't long before he was managing actors, flexing his creative muscles in filmmaking. A young family man living a charmed life.
We were living in the Oaks of Calabasas with the Kardashians and Bieber.
But like a horror film, the lights would dim and haunting music creep in. It was 2010. His daughter had just been born when the first call came from law enforcement.
His voice is trembling and he says, "I'm so sorry to have to tell you this. You know, your mom's been shot and killed, and it looks like it was a murder-suicide."
Sonnier's mother, Becky Gallegos, shot to death by her second husband at their Fredericksburg home. She'd asked for a divorce. He wouldn't have it.
She came out from packing her bags in the bedroom. He shot and killed her right then and there.
Gallegos had just written an email asking if she could return to Los Angeles to see her son and spend more time with her new granddaughter.
That email and that plane ticket were on her laptop, screen open, next to a bag packed on her bed, which we found in her bedroom.
Through his mom's devastating murder, his father, Joseph Sonnier III, a Lubbock pathologist, offered unwavering support for his two sons. With his dad's help, Sonnier regained his footing, diving back into the movie business. But nearly 2 years to the day since his mother was gunned down, he's tested once again.
Just when things were starting to calm down again, we get another phone call from another police department in Texas, and the officer has to tell me that my parent was shot and killed.
Sonnier's father shot and stabbed to death at his Lubbock home in July 2012.
We thought it was a home invasion, a robbery, something like that. We had no idea.
And no suspects until 5 days later. Police pieced together a love triangle involving a woman Joseph Sonnier had been dating. Her jealous ex-boyfriend, Mike Dixon, an Amarillo plastic surgeon, hired friend David Shepard to carry out the murder plot.
He decides that the only way to get her back, the only way to hurt her, is to kill my dad, to kill her new boyfriend. He had never even met my dad. The gunman had never met my dad. My dad was collateral damage. When you say to someone, I need you to go somewhere private, I have something to tell you, even the 30 seconds later, when they get to a place where you can talk, they know something horrible is coming. They know something absolutely horrible is coming. To have to do that twice to your own brother, that just tears me up. It just absolutely tears me apart.
The following year, Shepard accepted a plea deal, sentenced to life in prison. Police built a solid case against Dixon, but the trial took an unexpected turn and nosedived, ending in a mistrial. It was back to square one.
I can barely control my anger and my sadness, and my family's crying and everybody's just so overwhelmed. The DA walks in and he says, I'm so sorry this happened. Don't worry, we're going to do the trial again. We're going to get this guy. I feel really good about life right now, considering how horrible it was.
November 2015, a year and another trial later, a jury finds Dixon guilty of murder in less than 2 hours, sentencing him to life without parole.
And it felt so good to just have that closure. We needed that closure as a family.
One door finally closing.
They would not want me to sit around and sulk and ruin my life over this. They would want me to be proactive and be in charge and handle things. So really it's about honoring them.
And another swinging wide open.
If our horses die before we get there, or we go into hostile territory, weak and foggy with exhaustion, we won't rescue anybody.
Sonnier's first big breakout film, Bone Tomahawk, a Western starring Kurt Russell, was in production and hitting theaters as both trials unfolded.
Bone Tomahawk and the production of that movie will always coincide in my mind with the trials in Lubbock.
The movie would earn critical acclaim, but even with a long-awaited guilty verdict and successful film to his credit, the pieces of Sonnier's life had yet to snap into place.
I felt like I was on an island out there.
Sonnier was feeling restless in Los Angeles, but the next plot twist would mean uprooting his wife and 3 young, boisterous children.
Troy, can you show Daddy Mad Face?
Troy, mad face.
Show Daddy Mad Face. No, show Daddy Mad Face.
Dude, mad face.
The destination, Dallas, the Wild West for guys more interested in scripts and casting than oil and gas.
The city of Dallas is going to embrace the movie industry.
Why do you think that?
Because this city is so metropolitan, it's so cosmopolitan, it's so forward-thinking. This city loves shiny objects, and the film business is a shiny object.
How close are you to your childhood home?
My childhood home is literally 2 streets over, right behind us.
Stone's throw.
I can throw a baseball there.
This Park Cities kid sold his Calabasas manse, looking to create new memories where the old happy ones trailed off.
We would ride bikes to Mustang Donuts and Bubba's every single weekend. I really think this is the greatest city to raise a family, and so it was an easy decision for me.
But start a movie studio in Dallas? For Sonnier, like hand-picking the next ingenue.
So I really felt like I could tap in to this rumble, this really quiet rumble happening in Dallas right now, and bridge the gap between the wealthy side of Dallas and the artistic side of Dallas. we started construction a
Sonnier
few
got
months
to work
ago.
snatching up 2 run-down buildings in Old East Dallas.
There hadn't been maintenance done on the building since 1970.
They'd be transformed into the bones of his movie production company, a hub of creative synergy.
I want to put money into this neighborhood. I want to put our resources into this. I want to attract other companies, entertainment companies, creative companies, artists.
Sonnier's next project, a drama featuring Vince Vaughn, takes him to New York City. But he says the ultimate goal is to bring a movie back to North Texas, producing it in Dallas.
Oh, have fun at camp today, okay, bud?
Yes.
Sonnier's turning a corner personally, too, taking comfort in knowing the new life he's scripting for himself would make his parents proud.
I think all of the ambitious, exciting stuff that I'm doing in my life helps me not be so sad about all the terrible things that have happened to me and to my parents and my family. The city of Dallas, from the mayor, the film commissioner, all these people have embraced me with open arms. They're really excited about the opportunity, and I think they get it. I think they get it and they're excited, and I think everyone's like watching to see what we do.